My fellow Samaritans, I am curling my hands into a fist to indicate I'm mad about something, because there's a clear and prison dangler to our nation. I'm talking, of course, of malarkey and the people who spread it. The malarkey people. They may have eyes and a face mouth like us. They may even live at your uncle's house, but they are not like us. They refuse to accept free erections. Like a virus that spreads from truck stop shenanigans, malarkey can quickly turn into codswallop. And in no time, we could be looking at full-blown sassafras. So be vigilant.
Sir, your guests for the fundraiser party are waiting for you.
Malarkey people are among us. They're in our schools. They're behind the shed next to the thing. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a malarkey guy in our very White House right now. End speech. Yankee Doodle, please. Come on, man, where is that guy? My God, that man on TV just said there's a malarkey guy in my house. This guy turned invisible, man.
There sure is a lot of malarkey out there that is sure to turn into some very serious sassafras. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Zukradowski here of WeAreChange.org, and we have an overwhelming amount of craziness to talk about on today's broadcast, not just with all the latest domestic developments, but also internationally with the larger globalist plan of a 15-minute city that I think we should definitely talk about in the larger context of what it actually is, since there's been a lot of propaganda, bullcrap, and of course a major cover-up effort deceiving people from the true reality that is already being tested and implemented in places like China. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, and the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was done by the extremely talented Kyle Dunningham. He just released another full episode of the full-blown malarkey with the Fresh Prince of DC, a 12-minute video. We played you a small segment of it. If you want to watch the full video, definitely click the link down in our description below. Check out his channel, subscribe to him, and he really does absolutely brilliant work. I wish he did more of it, to be completely honest with you, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. But maybe if we subscribe enough, maybe, just maybe, we'll get more of his brilliant art, which I think is absolutely mind-blowing with the level of sophistication that, of course, it entails. So yeah, the latest videos, an absolute banger in many different ways. And yeah, there's a lot of malarkey out there, especially when it comes to the military-industrial complex and the rising of tensions, especially with the theater of war currently embattled with Russia and Ukraine going at it, a part of a larger proxy war. This, as the NATO chief just announced today that the alliance have agreed that Ukraine will become a member state of NATO, quote, in the long run, announcing yet another grave escalation into this larger proxy war that currently there is no end in sight. This, as we have to remember that there's a lot of money in war and also the promotion of war, along with its larger PR lies and marketing campaigns, as we have to remember that there's a multi-million, if not $1 billion marketing PR enterprise selling you the ideas of war, which, by the way, the U.S. Department of Defense actually approves and pushes, not just in overt ways on the corporate media with their ever so willing shills on CNN reading every line of script that they are given, but also in our TV series and our movies, especially in Hollywood, with hundreds of top films and TV series being personally approved by the U.S. government. And whether you're watching Iron Man, Top Gun, Terminator, Homeland, NCIS, those scripts were approved by the U.S. government in exchange for a favor to, of course, the Hollywood industry. This, as it's also the same intelligentsia state that also spies and watches on every one of your moves. This, as just recently, the U.S. Supreme Court just backed down and announced that the U.S. government spying on almost every single citizen is, quote, too secret to be challenged in court. This, as the U.S. government used national security as an excuse to violate the Fourth Amendment, which they are so good at doing. And today, as we find out about how the U.S. government spies on almost every little thing we're doing, we're also finding out how the U.S. government really is bad at protecting your personal data. This, as we're also finding out about the U.S. Marshal Services being hacked with a major security breach that compromised sensitive information that they had, specifically dealing with sensitive information dealing with the U.S. Marshal Services operations and service members. Now, again, this is not the first time that a major portion of the U.S. government was hacked and information was leaked. As just a couple days ago, we learned about how sensitive U.S. military emails just were spilled over online. And when it comes to the U.S. government spying and watching every little thing we do, databasing, critiquing, analyzing, especially the personal details of journalists and politicians. Maybe it's not in the best interest of the national security state to watch over every little thing we do. And again, the larger excuse here is that this is being done for safety. It is not. There's been many whistleblowers that, of course, spoke out against this and talked about how the U.S. government was interested in a dragnet that would, of course, involve everyone when they could have targeted specific individuals that were at a high risk of committing crimes. They could have targeted their surveillance to actually stop crime, and they don't do that. The programs that they launched before that have been exposed by individuals like Edward Snowden were all about controlling all the information, all the dirt on everyone, which is ridiculous, especially in this day and age where data is not secured and almost everything could be hacked and is vulnerable out there. This is why just even a couple days ago, I've been telling my members of LukeUncensored.com, hey, if it's online, it is everywhere. One very helpful tip for people to understand, especially when they're online themselves. There's basically no secrecy out there, no privacy out there. Anything could be vulnerable. And that's why you should be smart about what you do. And one of the smartest things you could do is sign up on LukeUnfiltered.com, our own members area where we get to talk to each other. We have a members area. We're a quasi-secret, not-so-secret, private, not-so-private organization of individuals from all over the world that come together and talk about solving our problems. You also get a bunch of cool swag that you only get by being a member that you get for the full price with virtually zero profit to us, 3 master classes, a major forum, and of course, a brand new spanking video available for people later on today. I have a lot of videos planned for, of course, this members area. Lots of things to discuss, especially today with the larger breakthroughs and exposés that, of course, we cannot discuss here on this particular platform. That's why we created our own platform where we get to say and do whatever we want. And if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Click the button right here and I will see you there right after this video. As of course, we are not done here talking about our main topic of discussion today, as the latest PR globalist talking point is out right now and being regurgitated by the majority of the corporate media, shaming people and attacking them for not wanting to live in 15-minute cities. And we've seen articles by the Times of London, Wired UK, The Herald, The Guardian, in a coordinated marketing PR push with Forbes, Bloomberg, and other media organizations, if you could even call them that, like CNN, joining in on the gaslighting, talking about how 15-minute cities are now international conspiracy theories. They're not. They're actual plans laid out by a lot of powerful people that institute a lot of policy that are literally calling for them and implementing them, as they will be in the United Kingdom very soon, a part of their larger globalist pet projects. Bloomberg wrote an article saying 15-minute cities aren't a threat to civil liberties. Well, everything we read about them, they pretty much look like they are. As of course, 15-minute cities are smart grid urban planning concepts in where everything that a person allegedly needs is within a 15-minute walk or bike ride away from any point in a particular city. This, of course, is a specific approach to make the weather gooder, to reduce the use of cars, of course, and a part of the larger UN 2030 vision of sustainability that supposedly will improve the overall quality of life of city dwellers. And what they forget to mention is that they're called 15-minute cities, and you're going to allegedly have everything around you within 15 minutes. But outside of that, there's either going to be walls, cameras, facial recognition, plate reading surveillance cameras, or borders that will stop you unless you have the right government permission in order to travel beyond these preset, preconditioned borders. There's already a trial program in China implementing these 15-minute cities, as of course China has been one of the few places in the world that has eagerly implemented many globalist policies that of course they willingly challenged and tested out on their general public. And whether it's the one-child policy, whether it's the social credit score, whether it's an all-out technocratic, centralized, communist quasi-state that controls every aspect of human existence there, we have to understand that China has essentially been doing and testing out some of the bigger globalist ideas that a lot of people are afraid to implement. There's a lot of talk right now about making Hong Kong a 15-minute city. This, as this program already is starting to be implemented in mainland China, especially in Shanghai, even in the suburbs, as it's important to note here that communities already have been walled off, and this has already been practiced with the lockdowns that the Chinese government has implemented specifically in mainland China, locking down entire neighborhoods because of alleged positive tests. The biggest lockdowns, the biggest draconian measures by the state in China were done to, of course, major cities that were not in favor of the current political leadership there. This, as many international rights groups say, that this lockdown policy was specifically punishing people for not going along with the political leadership of Xi Jinping in that country. And what we saw in China during, of course, the last 3 years were absolute horrors, and some people say a larger practice drill to this larger concept of internal prisons, which they're calling 15-minute cities, because during the lockdowns, walls were established, people were not able to leave their buildings, people were not able to leave their neighborhoods, people were not able to travel, and if you remember from the very beginning, specifically even in Wuhan, the Chinese government implemented a program where the people there could fly internationally. They could fly to Italy, they could fly to Europe, they could fly to Africa, they could fly to Latin America, they could fly to the Middle East, but they could not fly domestically within China. That's what happened in the early days. And then slowly and surely, the Chinese state and the Chinese government started to implement programs where entire cities were locked down. Then entire neighborhoods were locked down. Walls were set up, and white thugs in stormtrooper outfits were literally walking around, beating people with sticks, telling them to, quote, socially distance, while, of course, pummeling people's pets and ending their lives in front of their owners, all because of a misconceived notion that somehow pets were spreading this sickness as well. Now, as the globalists and central controllers get your 15-minute cities ready for you, along probably with your pods and bugs and all the online free adult content you could consume, we have to understand that a lot of the people, a lot of the central controllers calling for this, well, they're usually living in $51 million mansions, just like Jennifer Gates is right now, as there's a larger plot out there now to block out the sun from the general public and, of course, also implement a brain chip inside of your head that would absolutely make you dependent on the whims of a few sociopathic individuals that truly have gotten way too much power to themselves and are too hubris, as they're literally telling you that they want to keep you locked down, a plan that they had way before the sickness, by the way, many years ago, in order to make the weather gooder. They proposed locking people down, preventing people from traveling. This is another example of what they're trying to implement here under, of course, PR and marketing firms that are trying to sell you the larger idea of asking for permission to even walk around and travel away from the city that you're forced to live in. This is an insane idea that they want you to think you're insane for even questioning, and you're not. And if you agree with me, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever. We're going to talk about more, especially about blocking out the sun in future videos, so that's why you should subscribe and click the notification button. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video coming your way right now on LukeUncensored.com. See you there.